Hey guys, welcome back to the Solopreneur Recruiter. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out the podcast. I'm posting a lot more content over there with a lot more information. It's just a lot easier to pump out audio content than edit video and stuff. But today I really wanted to talk about one thing, and that's just the belief factor and the imposter syndrome that's really present with a lot of business owners. And I was going to talk about email sequences because that's really important. That's a huge part of the sales process with how I set those up for different prospects and different responses, my cadence, how I handle calls, what I do to add value to that whole sales process. But I was just thinking about this morning because we had a Zoom meeting with 5 people, 5 recruiters that are building their agencies and looking to get things to the next level. And everything I'm providing is completely free. And I've built my agency up to over 300K in 14 months, well over 300K. And what I think this comes down to, and I've had this before, is there's a lot of people that said they were going to come. That's okay. People get busy, XYZ. It could be a million reasons. But I know there's one person in that group, and I'm not thinking about a specific person. I just know there is one person that just doesn't believe that their agency is going to work out. Even though they're trying certain things, they're putting together these building blocks. Belief is a really important factor when you're building this business. And I've talked about this on the podcast and with other podcasts too, that there's one day where I wrote down Eric 2.0 on a piece of paper and what that person is in the year 2022. And I know that's incredibly cheesy. It is just a corny thing to do, but it really helps me out. And that belief factor and what's going to happen in the future helps me out on days like Monday or Tuesday where I ask myself, what would Eric 2.0 do in this scenario where things aren't working out great, or you're just grinding it out and maybe you're not getting responses, or you had a candidate fall through and it just feels like a gut punch, because that's what this recruiting game is, especially if you don't have retainers and you're just working on contingency fees. I mean, some of those scenarios can be really demoralizing to people unless you have the right mindset to do it. And even a step further, when you get that imposter syndrome, which is, oddly enough, it's really, really common, even with people in regular jobs. A lot of account executives get it when they're closing deals and they feel like things are going really well, and they feel like imposters because maybe they have this idea of what a great salesperson is, or maybe they don't feel as articulate as other people, or maybe they feel like they're not as efficient as other people. Whatever reason it is, there's a lot of people like you may be watching this that will get that. I've gotten it before. And I might as well, I guess, tell my whole story and how I arrived here at Bendago. So I started my career in sales at Gartner, and I took some time off and I traveled the country in an RV for a little while. Then I worked with some startups in Boston. One of them really didn't work out. Funny enough, it was a recruiting company that I worked at for maybe like 4 months. I joined this company, and within 2 weeks, I think there was 10 of us in the office. Within that first 2 weeks, they laid off 6. So it was like they hired me, they wiped those people out, and now it's just like this small company without a proof of concept. They were trying all this stuff, and I just had a base salary, and we weren't selling anything. So I had to get out of there pretty quickly. And long story short, arrived at starting my own business. And I first started my own business in marketing. So digital marketing is very common. It's a really low cost, low barrier to entry type business because you can just get started. You can start managing people's social media. You can do some video production. I was already doing stuff like that. SEO, website building. There's a lot of stuff that I did. And I was working at a software company at that point in time. I just took a job. It was an entry-level sales role because I didn't want to close deals after hours. I didn't want to be held in one place for more than just the 40 hours a week. So I was straddling this whole building a business thing, and it made my life a whole lot harder, and I just decided to jump into this. And that's when Bendago was really started. And we started off as a different kind of company. We pivoted a few times. But once I decided to go dive in head first with recruiting, it was over the course of 14 months, and I've said this before, something like 350K in revenue. So I was really successful, and I'm continuing to expand. And my goal was to actually make $250,000 a year, take home, and only work 40 hours a week. That's kind of the dream. I'm not after millions and millions of dollars. I think that would be amazing to only work 40 hours a week and bring home that kind of money. And I was well on my way before the pandemic. And that's a story for another day with how everything froze. And that's something that happened to everybody. But we had like 8 candidates that were ready to get hired and lost a bunch of money all in that week when everybody froze up hiring for a year. But throughout that whole process, there was definitely moments where I felt like an imposter because, especially when you're making money, something weird happens. I think it's possibly because you have this vision in your mind about what a business owner actually looks like, how they talk, how sharp they are, what their IQ is. You know, they probably wake up in a suit and they're looking sharp. And I think you have those down moments as a business owner, especially when things are going bad, where you're not as efficient. Maybe you're personally being affected by not having success, and you go hours of being just inefficient, maybe not getting any work done because you're having a hard time focusing. All that stuff is going to happen to some people, and the imposter syndrome is very, very common. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm really challenging all you recruiters and people that aspire to have agencies and make a certain number a year. And all of this is extremely possible for anybody. If you follow everything I'm saying in my free videos, maybe we'll work together. I'm not asking that. Hopefully we will. But if not, hopefully you get everything you possibly can from my free content. You can absolutely do this if you just follow and use the tools that are given to you. There's so much free information out there. Write that 2.0 version of yourself on a piece of paper, or just write what your goals are and you put a timestamp on it and reverse engineer what that person needs to do in a day like today, whether it be prospecting for new clients, whether it be putting your head down and recruiting for more candidates. It could be getting your basic website up where it seems like a headache and you're never going to get it done. Just put your head down today, maybe find a freelancer for $50, get it done. Set up your email account, set up the logo for $10 off of Fiverr. You know, just get through that little stretch of uncomfort or discomfort where you're not familiar with something, and just power through that. And that's going to make the world of difference. And it's also going to build up new habits that's going to help you later on when you may have to pivot again with business. Maybe artificial intelligence is going to take over the recruiting industry. It will at some point, but it's not in the near future, but it could. So just something I wanted to talk about. That's a huge, really important piece of being a business owner. Read books. Read The One Thing by Gary Keller. I talked about that in another one of my podcasts. Read, Napoleon Hill's book. There's a million books that you can read. Just keep growing. Get into this process of moving in that direction and morphing and trying things. That's what this is all about. And network with people. Meet people, try to pick their brains, give them information, take information, the whole 9 yards. But cool. This is a short podcast. This is all I really wanted to say. If you could like and subscribe, or just write me a review on the podcast, whatever thing you're on, that would mean the world to me. Otherwise, looking forward to meeting more of you guys this week. We're probably doing another Zoom meeting. Keep building this thing, guys.